Over the past 75 years, more than 10,000 chemicals have entered our food supply, but the EU allows just 300 additives. At Thrive Market, we prioritize quality, banning over 1,000 ingredients found in conventional grocery stores. Our Healthy Swap scanner helps you find better versions of your pantry essentials without the junk, dyes, or fillers, and everything is delivered right to your doorstep. So shop at a grocery store that actually cares about your health at thrivemarket.com/get-started for 30% off your first order and a free $60 gift.
We will not be held responsible for any hearing impairments or damage caused to you from excessive exposure to this sound.
It's the 5th of April, 2013. We are kicking it old school tonight.
Did you miss that old song or something? We haven't had that song in, 2
months.
Yeah.
It is. I'll tell you, we are Retro Night, which I appreciate you wearing the leisure suit for Retro Night. That's kind of cool.
No, it's my pleasure.
I want to know is how you feel the goldfish swimming around in your platform shoes.
It actually opens up. If you take a look. See right here?
Uh-huh.
If I slide this off, right here, food right there, and the goldfish is completely unharmed.
That's pretty awesome. Good for you. Welcome to everyone listening tonight.
What's wrong with you?
I don't know. I'm having a good night. You know what it is the
Sox won.
The Sox did win tonight, so we're 3 out of 4 to start the season.
Very
2 from the Yankees. I wish we got the sweep, but somehow Andy Pettitte, I don't know. I test his blood. But that's just me. I mean, I don't know.
You're just saying. You're not accusing. You're just saying.
I'm not accusing. I'm just saying everyone should get tested at random occasionally, especially if you're Pettitte. What?
Not that I'm not disagreeing with you.
And they also beat Toronto tonight, so I am a happy man. How are things going on your neck of the MLB?
Swell.
What, just swell?
Just swell. They dropped their first 2 games. I was not happy about that.
Right.
And then they came back and won, so I was happy about that. But I've been paying attention to the Sox. They beat Houston tonight.
The Sox? The Sox beat Houston tonight?
No, Oakland.
Oh, okay. You said the Sox.
Listen, why are you trying to? It's way early in the show.
Just
for this type.
Listen,
of
you're the one who said it.
Number one. Number two, I don't know what I'm saying. I've been up since 4 in the morning.
I know.
We went through this.
I know. You had a long flight today, and I'm sorry about that, but you're here, and that's all that counts. The phone number for tonight's show is 347-205-9399. You can listen on Blog Talk Radio. You can also listen through sackheadsradio.com under the Listen to Us page, and I think you can grab us on iTunes, too. So
you think?
I think.
No, they pretty much can.
No, I was just articulating the fact
weren't.
that I do think occasionally. Occasionally.
Which is a rarity.
A lot going on this week.
Not really.
No, you're right. You want to just end the show?
We're done.
See you next Friday night, folks.
My brain is a little fried.
And why?
Today.
Why is that?
It just is. We have an announcement to make.
We do have an announcement to make.
We are sponsoring an event.
We have officially sponsored the event. It's called the No Liberty, No Peace Ride. It's going to be going on the 19th of April. Sorry, I wanted to make sure I had all my notes right. It's going to be going on the 19th of April on the 238th anniversary of the Shot Heard Round the World. If you're in California, specifically the Sacramento area, you can meet at 2:30 in the afternoon over at Cycle Gear, 5400 Date Ave in Sacramento. And essentially what they're doing is to make people aware, especially in California, for those who are stuck out here, they have a supermajority. All signs are indicating that...
Who has a supermajority?
The liberals, Democrats. Okay. All signs are indicating that they're going to really go after gun control in the state. as we've learned in the past,
No, like
California,
literally there's signs. There's like
Yeah.
signs saying we're coming after your guns. It's literal all over the place.
is so.
It wasn't figurative. I just had to clarify that.
No, I'm sorry.
Sometimes people would think that maybe it was figuratively. There
No,
were,
it's a literal.
it
It's
was
a literal
literally
sign.
signs, yeah.
So
Pretty
essentially,
sure the governor walks around with a sign that says we're coming after your guns. So they're all doing it. It's the greatest rave here in California.
so they're getting together on the 19th, which is the 238th anniversary of Shot Heard Around
You
the World.
said that. What are we playing, Repeater?
No, I'm just. What are we playing, Repeater? And later on in the show, we have the president of the
United States?
Oh, you know what? I should see. We're the president of the Sons of Liberty Riders organization, which is
Okay.
sponsoring the event.
I was
But we
confused.
should
I thought
see.
we were sponsoring the event.
They're also sponsoring.
They're
the event.
hosting the event
As
also,
is,
right?
They're hosting it, as is the Women's Warrior Pack. Tiffany Rugner over there, the executive director, is involved. So there's a lot of good people. But
She's pretty awesome.
she is pretty awesome.
We need to get her in studio, but that's
well,
a pretty coveted position.
that is
I
a-
don't know that we need to give that up.
I don't know if we can give it up right away, and we really have to be selective about who we choose.
We really do. Okay.
We discussed it on Twitter this week, and she really pushed us back and forth to let her be the first. And I
We've
told
been
her,
discussing it for a while,
Yeah.
back and
I
forth.
told her it's a big deal. To be the first guest in studio for us is a big deal.
It's a huge deal.
For a couple reasons. One, I'd have to clean the studio.
No. We have Sacco.
Okay, Saka would have to clean
Sacco would
the
have to
studio.
clean the studio.
I would have to stock the green room, which would cost us $12-13 total.
Oh, tops. But
She's-
that's at Costco, so we'd have enough left over for us later.
Right, and I told her
For
that
subsequent shows.
that's a good amount of our yearly budget.
Okay.
She suggested dinner at Chops, which is an excellent restaurant in the greater Sacramento area. I told her that would be a 10-year budget for us. That might set us back a little bit. So we're going to work on it, but as of right now, no decision's been made. We did get a big push from TPO himself. His name's Tom O'Halloran. He's got an excellent blog. He's huge on Twitter. He said he reminded us that whatever Tiffany wants, Tiffany gets. So we should just
That's true if Tiffany's calling the shots.
This is very
But-
true.
But
It is our studio.
This is our studio. But she is an awesome person. This is what's it's difficult.
Yeah, this is
It's such a coveted
Gosh,
position because
it's
we have
so
had
hard.
so many requests
yes,
via email.
yes.
We'll have to talk more about it off air. So it's an event for legislation, anti-gun legislation.
Anti-gun legislation.
So it's an anti-gun legislation rally.
And it's going to be like a road rally where they're going to line up all the cars and they're going to take to the street. They're going to mark up the cars, let people know what's going on, get as many cars as they possibly
They're going
can.
to mark them up like with a Sharpie?
No, with like soap and signs and all that other
Okay.
stuff. The Sons of Liberty Rider Organization, they're going to have all their riders out there. And if you haven't seen them, I saw them at the 223 rally back in February. They're an impressive group of guys and gals who get together.
What makes a great pair of glasses? At Warby Parker, it's all the invisible extras without the extra cost. Their designer quality frames start at $95, including prescription lenses, plus scratch-resistant, smudge-resistant, and anti-reflective coatings, and UV protection, and free adjustments for life. To find your next pair of glasses, sunglasses, or contact lenses, or to find the Warby Parker store nearest you, head over to warbyparker.com. That's warbyparker.com.
And their whole message is about liberty and sticking to the Constitution. Every bike has a huge American flag on it. And I talked to a bunch of them at the event. Wonderful folks. Really insightful, friendly, but and Sean, the president of the organization, is going to come on later on at 11 o'clock and talk to us about it. But what I liked about them is they all have a love to ride motorcycles, which motorcycle riders love to just ride, and they have a love to the Constitution, and essentially they're going to explain that that's how those two met, is say, you know what, we can get out a good message about this country and the Constitution and saving the Republic and enjoy ourselves in the process.
Basically, it's a Tea Party on wheels.
That's probably a really good way to
That's
put
all
it.
you had to say. It's a Tea Party on wheels. And I totally would have got it. It's a Tea Party with Harley-Davidson motorcycles. Okay, I get that. Why'd you have to go into this whole long, drawn-out thing? Tea Party on wheels, motorcycles, Harley, it paints a picture.
And if you want to find their website, Sons of LibertyRiders.com, and they are on Twitter, the California Sons of Liberty Rider. And Women's Warrior Pack, if you want to check out Tiffany Rugner, it's AmericaResists.com, and she's on Twitter at The Right Mix. She's also a Facebook juggernaut. She is everywhere.
Except the Sackhead Studio.
Except the Sackhead Studio.
Evidently, you're not everywhere, are you?
Welcome to the chat room of the Exceptional Conservative Show, who joined us this evening. Thank you.
Welcome, sir.
Always a pleasure to have you in the room. If you haven't checked out his show, you need to do it.
So they're here protesting the gun legislation that's coming up, correct?
Yeah. Yes.
Have you seen Senate Bill 1172? And some of the concerns coming up. It's a California bill. Of course, it's a California sexual orientation bill. And what this bill, has done is it says that mental health providers shall not engage in treatment of those under 18 years of age with the intent to change sexual orientation. So, if a child is, let's say you're a religious parent, and your child under the age of 18 is homosexual, lesbian, whatever it is, and you, as a parent, as a religious parent, decide that you want to try and get your child treatment in order to try and change sexual orientation, this bill prohibits mental health providers, and there's a list of what that is, from engaging in that type of therapy. So as a parent, you cannot take your minor child based on your beliefs or whatever for sexual orientation change efforts. And the legislation actually goes on to say, and I can't make this up, Section 1, quoting, the legislature finds and declares all of the following. Being lesbian, gay, or bisexual is not a disease, disorder, illness, deficiency, or shortcoming. It's not a shortcoming. The major professional associations of mental health practitioners and researchers in the United States have recognized this fact for nearly 40 years. Okay. The problem I have with this bill is, first of all, I'd like to say this, and we've discussed this on the show before. While my particular religious beliefs may not find that, hey, I don't believe that, gay, lesbian, bisexual relationships are appropriate based upon my religious beliefs. However, if somebody else is engaged in a same-sex relationship, I don't. That's none of my business. I don't care. I support their right to do that.
Right.
Just like if they find a church that supports that, that's their religious belief. So be it. That's the church's prerogative. I may not agree with it, but that's okay. We can disagree on things. But there's one thing in here that bothered me. Well, first of all, that bothered me because this is obviously written from a very secular standpoint,
right? And
talking about kind of taking away some kind of parental rights and responsibilities. And I actually have another story about parental rights here coming up a little bit later. That's the first problem I have because it doesn't address the religious liberties of those parents or maybe even that child. Maybe that child is struggling with something spiritually.
Right.
And it takes that away. But then there's something else in here that really kind of bothered me, and there's been not a lot of to-do made about it. But I'd like to read this. And it's, for purposes of this article, the following terms shall have the following meanings. And now I understand what the legislative intent is on this, but we all know how attorneys and judges can work sometimes, so just follow me out for a moment. In Section 865B1, it says, again, definitions. Sexual orientation change efforts means any practices by mental health providers that seek to change an individual's sexual orientation. So even if you want to change sexual orientation, you can't do it.
Okay.
This includes efforts to change behaviors or gender expressions or to eliminate or reduce sexual or romantic attractions or feelings toward individuals of the same sex. So, if your child is struggling, hey, you know what, I have a girlfriend, but I also find myself attracted to guys and I'm really confused, you cannot take your child into a mental health professional to get that sorted out, to eliminate or reduce those feelings. But the first part I want to bring attention to, and this includes efforts to change behaviors.
Mm-hmm.
or gender expressions. It's or gender expressions, not and. So behaviors. Well, what kind of sexual behaviors exist that could be potentially detrimental not only to the individual but to others? And pedophilia immediately comes to mind.
Absolutely. So
it is such a broad term, and this law is written, and I'm reading this, by the way, specifically from leginfo.legislature.california.ca.gov. So this is right from the legislature's website.
Right.
In California. So if that word, and again, we understand what the intent of the legislature is most likely, but that is so broad that as a defense attorney, if I were to bring up, hey, wait a second, my client who is under 18, tried as an adult, whatever, or even as a juvenile, hey, you know what? You cannot order him to go to treatment as a condition of his probation or as a condition of incarceration, because your own law says that no mental health provider can deal with his sexual orientation, which includes his behaviors.
Right.
And his behavior in this case is pedophilia. That's his behavior. Who are you? And we start going down this road. Something else interesting, I then researched California Department of State Hospitals and found that part of their treatment programs for pedophiles and sexual predators, one of them is actually a therapy program. So my next question would be, if you have a minor kind of in a similar program who's a pedophile, or likes even a 17-year-old who likes a 12-year-old, 11-year-old, victimizes a 9-year-old, 8-year-old, whatever it is, does that mean we can't give them treatment? Now, even for California Department of State Hospitals, I mean, state hospitals more for adults, but where's this going to go?
Right. Well, like everything else, I have issues with certain parts of the legislation, but the biggest issue I have is what a sloppy written or amazingly
clever,
sneaky way of writing a law that kind of starts to introduce into different areas that isn't just like everything else. The original intent of that law may be one thing, but now you have to worry about where it can be construed otherwise.
And why is the legislature involved in identifying or prohibiting treatment to minors? First of all, that's a parent's job, not the government's job.
Right.
Second of all, if there is a mental health practitioner out there, somebody who is trained that does believe that it is possible, does engage in that type of treatment, and that it's not harmful, and a parent consents to have their child go to that type of treatment, it's not the government's job.
It's not the government's job either way to be involved, either to push for or to keep from. If a parent feels that that's the way to go for their child, especially if their child has a whole bunch of issues and they think that's a core issue.
And especially if you're talking about a family steeped in religious beliefs.
Right. And
so
that,
what the legislature did is essentially, because who would seek this type of treatment? Correct?
Right.
I would imagine it would be more religious families who are concerned about the salvation of their child.
Mm-hmm.
A very legitimate thing for a religious parent to be concerned about. And now there is no, and I'm wondering if anybody's going to be smart enough to challenge this law on religious grounds, but there is no recourse that the parents have to get their child help, because hey, look, there are people out there who are spiritual, who are Christian in nature, who go become therapists and so forth, who can help, who are licensed caregivers, who can help with this from a spiritual manner, if the parents so decide, and if the therapist decides that type of treatment is appropriate. Just like, hey, if you don't believe that that's appropriate, then don't take your child there. Again, that's an issue. I have my personal beliefs towards it, but
I also
two consenting adults do.
But I also think of the religions that forbid medicine, and there are those religions out there.
Yes.
And as much as I don't necessarily agree with that religious belief, especially if it saves a loved one, a child,
mm-hmm.
What have you, I also don't think I have a hard time when the government comes in and says, hey, you can believe in that religion, but if your child gets ill, we're going to charge you if you don't get him a certain, it's that weird kind of conundrum because who wants to see any child sick, injured, ill, or anything like that? But the infringement upon people's personal religious rights should never be infringed upon and trampled upon. So there is that fine line.
Well, here's the thing with the illness thing. If you have a child's life who is in danger, and a parent refuses to get medical aid for their child based on religious grounds, remember, liberty only extends as far as until you're not infringing upon the liberty of others.
I understand.
That child has just as much right to life, liberty, and happiness as the parent. If that child is too young to understand the repercussions of not getting treatment and consenting to that treatment, now that parent's decision is infringing upon that child's right to life, and it is the government's job to protect individual liberties, including the individual liberties of that child, and I would, based on that reasoning, support government coming in and forcing treatment for a child, because at that point they are doing exactly what they're supposed to do, which is protecting the liberties of the individual, the child in that case. However, this is a different case. We're talking about homosexuality, and let's face it, no scientist knows the cause of homosexuality. They can't tell you it's a gene. They can't tell you it's a mental disorder. They can't tell you it's chemical. They can't tell you. It's theory. Okay, nobody knows. God created us. God knows. Pretty sure we have His words on the subject. But this is theory, and it's secular theory at that. And unless a child is suicidal, okay, or something of that nature, if a parent decides to try and get their child help, and it's not a detriment to the child, again, just like the issue we talked about with the life, I have a problem with this legislation.
I have a problem with the legislation in a couple different ways. I'd like to think that if you're a parent and your child is having gay or lesbian tendencies or homosexual tendencies, whatever you want, if you come from a very religious background and a very steeped in religion family, I still think that you have the ability to find a resolve either one way or the other without the government's involvement. That's pretty much the way I look at it. I as far as whether or not, what causes homosexuality, I have no idea. Like you said, nobody has no idea. Frankly, I don't care. I have friends and family who are gay and lesbian. Doesn't bother me in the slightest. I support their right to be free people just as I support your right, just as I support my right. I don't think that the government, again, has the right to step in and make sweeping laws that further disconnects children from their family.
And that's the point. This is not an issue about gay or lesbian.
No, not at all.
Not. And we've said plenty of times on the show, we have our personal views on the matter. Hey, I don't agree with it. It's not something I subscribe to. However, it's not my job to tell somebody else how they can or cannot live. That's between them and God. That's between them and their partner, whatever it is.
Right.
And just like the marriage issue, marriage should not be defined by government.
One way or the
other. State, federal, doesn't matter, right? Marriage is a compact between God and man and woman, I believe, but a couple. But if there's another church out there who believes that covenant can be made between same-sex couples and God, hey, you know what? They have that freedom of religion in this country, and I have to support that. I don't have to agree with it, okay? But I have to support that. But again, the disturbing, how broad this is written, especially with being so.
That's the scary thing, is how broad it's
exactly.
written.
And look, it doesn't say pedophile in here, but if it says behavior, and I can argue as an attorney that, hey, you know what, behavior and a judge buys it, guess what, folks? And now because you have a protected, right, sexual orientation is protected class, right?
Absolutely.
So if sexual orientation includes behavior and that behavior is pedophilia, then guess what? You cannot prohibit
Pedophilia.
that pedophile from working in your school, from working in your daycare, from working because hey, you can't discriminate. And that's kind of the big
well, and that just came up, and I think it's I want to say it's Cal State Riverside, where they found out on April Fool's there was this pamphlet going around saying, hey, the president of the student body is a convicted sex offender, and everyone thought it was an April Fool's joke. And somebody looked into it a little bit further, and come to find out, it's a 40-year-old guy that is a convicted sex offender, and I believe it was a lewd act with a minor, a very young minor, 7 or 8 years old, if I remember right. And everyone was shocked, and he did everything he was supposed to do, right, wrong, or indifferent. He registered with the school. He told them there it was. They told him, there are certain events you can't go to because there are children going to be present, even though this is adult college. We sometimes, and all that stuff, and it just amazed me that all of a sudden there's this outcry that everyone loved this guy, and then all of a sudden they found out he's a sex offender, and they're like, whoa, and we don't want him. And then the school's kind of turning around, at least last I heard 2 days ago, and said he's doing everything he's legally required to do. You elected him student body. He didn't hide anything. He didn't hide it from us. Got to let him be. And people are getting upset about it, and you got to know who you elect, and we say that every election that comes around.
You do.
You got to know who you elect, and to this guy's credit, he said, I screwed up when I was very young. I think he was 17 or something like that. I made awful mistakes. I owned it. I paid my debt that I was asked to pay told to pay to society. I've tried to move on with my life. I never tried to hide it. I never attempted to deceive people.
Except that 7-year-old kid when he tricked him with, whatever.
But that just shows, though, he did everything he was supposed to do, and he's in a college student body president. Everyone thought he was great until this came up. So you start putting in laws that allow people to openly hide it, so to speak, or
what does that mean?
Keeps you from being able to call him out or address the criminal behavior, then that's the problem. And that's kind of what my point was with the Cal State Riverside thing is he was around, even though he avoided it, he still put himself in a situation where he could have been around young children if he tried to hide it.
I think it's a little bit different with a college setting. What I'd be worried about is based on this law and the ambiguousness of it. Is that even a word?
Yes.
I'm so tired right now, it's not even funny. But based upon...
You look awful.
Man,
just so you know.
I've been going since 4 a.m.
I know.
I already said that. But based upon how ambiguous this law is written, if pedophilia is defined as behavior, therefore becomes a sexual orientation, that is a protected group. You cannot discriminate against that group. So if the legislature unwittingly made that possible, and the governor unwittingly signed it into effect, California's doing great.
Like always.
They're
just hitting the nail right on the head.
Way to go, California.
Way to be geniuses. Well, like everything else, they need to stay the hell out of people's houses. They need to stay the hell out. Now, listen, on the same token, if a child goes to his parents and says, I'm gay, lesbian, homosexual, and they come in a steep family, and dad turns around and starts beating the child, I'm not okay with that. You know what I mean? Naturally. But that's when the government needs to get in, like you said, once the rights are being infringed. However, this is something that you just need to just stay the hell out of the way. Let families be families and deal with it. This has been going on a lot longer than this current legislature has been in office.
We're up against a break.
Are we already?
When we come back, I know we're going to take our friend, but afterwards I want to discuss another. You're going to love it. Another.
I love it when you do that to me.
Yeah, it's another comment. Basically, big shot at parental parental rights.
Oh, good. I like to know that parents aren't being allowed to parent their children. When we come back from our break, Sean Allen, the president of the Sons of Liberty Riders organization, will be on to tell us about the event that's coming up on the 19th of April. Stick around. We will be back in a moment on Sackheads Radio.
Hey folks, this is Sackhead Clint. I want to take this opportunity to thank the men and women of our armed forces, as well as our first responders, law enforcement, firefighters, and emergency medical personnel. Thank you for all you do. Thank you for making this country and our communities a better and safer place. God bless.
Hello, I'm Ashley, a student at Hillsdale College. Here is Dr. Larry Arnn on why the Constitution limits government.
James Madison writes in Federalist 51 that men are not angels. Their passions and self-interest often get the better of their reason and sense of justice. So we need government in order to protect our rights against those who would take them away. But for the same reason, Madison writes, government must be limited because people in government have passions and interests too. Many Americans today forget this, supposing that we can do away with constitutional limits on government, supposing that the unelected bureaucrats being put in charge of our health care, for example, will rule as if they are angels. If Madison was correct about human nature, this is foolish and dangerous.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.org.
Hi, this is Sarah Marie Brenner. You know, we often talk on the Brenner Brief about the fact that there really needs to be an organization to help people at the local level who are interested in running for things like school board, city council, and other local offices. Well, I think I finally have the solution for you, at least for you women out there. It's called Politigal Network, POLITIGAL Network.com. Their website's going to be launching mid-August, but they're already on Twitter at PolitigalUSA. I encourage you to follow them and become a member. Their goal is to be the #1 resource for conservative women. So if you love freedom, liberty, the United States of America, and politics, check out PolitigalNetwork.com or Twitter at PolitigalUSA.
How you doing? John Grant here. When I'm not slaving over a hot microphone on the 405radio.com Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern, I check out Sean and Clint here at Sackheads Radio. We all appreciate the best political bloggers, writers, and commentators. We either get them on our shows or we make fun of them, as it should be. So check us out live Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern or forever on the podcasts on the 405radio.com.
Hey guys, it's Sean from Sackheads Radio. I want to talk to you a minute about our friends over at HomefrontHugs.com. They're an amazing organization of volunteers who take their time, effort, and money to take care of our troops overseas as they serve our great nation. HomefrontHugs.com. You can donate, write letters to troops, adopt a troop, you name it, you can do it. Help those wonderful folks who protect our freedoms. Go to HomefrontHugs.com. Tell them Sackheads Radio sent you.
Now back to Clint and Sean on Sackheads Radio, radiating elegancy and quality.
And we're back from the break. On the phone with us live right now is Sean Allen, the president of the Sons of Liberty motorcycle organization. Sean, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing good. How are you?
Just so you can articulate differentiate the two of us, the guy who talks funny is Sean, and the guy who doesn't talk as funny is Clint.
Welcome.
Oh, thank you.
I hear you're a man of few words.
Yes, I am actually. I'm a leader, but I'm not really good getting in front of people. I do my best. I sort of ad-lib it. So this is sort of baptism by fire for me.
Perfect. Well, me too.
Yeah, right. Okay.
We can't shut up, so this should work out really well. So
yeah, I kind of figured that. I've been listening to you for the last half an hour, and yeah, I gathered that.
And it's mostly Sean, right? I talked maybe for 30 seconds.
And it was my that. Yeah, Sean does love to talk.
Well, you know what happens is he has a tendency to lead me into something, then he'll get up and just leave the room, and he doesn't even care how long I rant for. And him and the sound engineer just sit in the other room and they laugh and laugh.
We eat ho-hos and Twinkies.
Oh yeah, he does it on purpose.
I don't even know they're gone, so it works out well for me. Hey, tell us
like
a
you
little
guys have a love-hate relationship there.
Absolutely. We actually have a love-love relationship. Very rarely do we disagree, and when we do, it's because I'm right.
That's not true. We can go back to prior episodes.
We've only had a few spats, though.
And you were wrong in all of them. Let's hear about the event.
Sean, tell us about the event that's coming up on the 19th in Sacramento.
Okay, well, I don't know how many people actually realize this, but April 19th is the anniversary of the Shot Heard Around the World, Lexington and Concord, when the British came out of Boston into the countryside.
My next door, I'm very well aware of it.
Yeah, they disarmed the colonies. Well,
yep.
We're sort of sick and tired of our Second Amendment rights being slowly chipped away at. And, Sons of Liberty have been at every Second Amendment rally that we could possibly find in this area. And this is just another one of those events. This is a rolling rally, which means that it's not just going to be in one location. We're probably going to have 2 locations over a freeway bridge during rush hour. And we're going to be holding signs, letting the public know, because a lot of people are asleep. They don't realize what's really happening. Or
especially in California.
Yeah, on the left coast. They're on their own little bubble. Their things are going okay in their little world, and they don't really care about what happens politically. Well, we're here to educate people and let them know you need to be concerned.
So is this campaign, is it one of education? Is it one of awareness? Is it a combination?
Kind of a combination. One of the locations are going to be right by a major bus station hub, where there's a light rail and a bus station tied in together, going over I-80. So we're kind of hoping that not only will the people from rush hour see our signs, but the people in the bus station will be curious and come over and talk to us, and we'll be able to do further education. So, yeah, it's both awareness and education. We're also going to have a couple of groups of cars in rush hour with signs on the sides of the cars. We're probably going to have a couple of bikes with parade flags to draw attention to it. It's going to be tough to do it safely, but we're really aiming towards awareness and then letting people know what's going on.
Okay, and what specifically are you trying to make them aware of? Are you talking about the slow infringements over the last 100 years or so into individual liberties and freedoms, or specifically on Second Amendment issues?
Well, we're going to encourage the people that come and do their signs. We're going to do it grassroots style, by the way, no professional stuff.
Okay.
It's better if you do the signs handmade. But we're going to encourage everybody to, whatever they feel passionate about, whether it's the 13th Amendment or the Second Amendment or the First Amendment. It's not really specific. The Second Amendment is a major one.
Of
course.
But,
we've got to have a little bit of the whole Constitution, not just that one.
Okay. Yeah, because, let's face it, the free people cannot govern themselves if they don't have the means to defend themselves against tyranny.
Absolutely. The Second Amendment protects all the other ones.
Absolutely. And it's not just sporting arms or hunting arms. It's not the original intent of that amendment. I'm one of those people, and people probably think I'm crazy, but I believe that, hey, if you can afford an F-18, you should be able to purchase an F-18, because military-style weapons are what we are supposed to have to protect ourselves from an oppressive government.
And Sean, I don't know. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, absolutely. If the colonists didn't have the same weapons as the British, we wouldn't be here today.
Well, we had better weapons than the British. The Green Mountain Boys actually had rifles, which was better than the Brown Bess muskets, which were issued at the time.
Yeah, you're right. That's right.
Well, and we say it all the time that, you have your group, your motorcycle organization, where you guys love to ride and you love the country. So that's kind of what brought you guys together. Clint and I want to start that with an aircraft carrier organization, where a bunch of us could get aircraft carriers and just roll up and down the coast and hang out. We actually want to start doing our show from one. So we're completely on board with that idea.
Speaking of the organization, let me talk about that for a few minutes here.
Absolutely. We'd love to hear about it.
Sons of Liberty Riders was founded in 2009, the same year as the Tea Party, for the same reason. And I'm probably preaching to the choir here, but because Barack Obama got elected into office and a year later, everybody started seeing, or at least the people who were awake started seeing what was happening. So our organization was formed in 2009. You can, if you're interested in checking out our website, it's sonsoflibertyrriders.com. All patriots are welcome. You don't have to ride a motorcycle, although it is smiled upon. We've also got a Facebook page. Facebook page is California Sons of Liberty Riders. Basically, Facebook.com/Sons of Liberty, California Sons of Liberty Riders. So feel free to check that out. Also, if you even if you just want to be educated on what's happening, from a conservative standpoint, there's a lot of good information on the website as well. But if you decide to join whatever state you're in, hopefully California, up at the top of the page after you join, you'll see state groups. Click on that. Find the California page. Click on that, and you'll get a warm welcome when you join.
Now, I don't know if you know this or not, but we're kind of international superstars. So, do you have chapters outside of the United States?
Well, we don't. I mean, I know that there are people from other countries that join because they want to see what's happening. Their country may not always, tell the truth about what's happening over here.
Yeah, it appears
so
we do a huge mistake. I wish we could send them back. Oh, you were talking about him. I'm sorry.
That's okay. We used to have an international a page on the website. I don't know where it went, but if there's international interest, I can talk to National about getting that page back up.
Yeah, that was great. Like I said, we have some service people in Okinawa, Japan, and other parts of the world that actually listen, and that may not be a bad idea.
Right, and just a minute here, I want to talk about what we're about. I told you about the rundown. Well, basically, we are, like you said, we love riding motorcycles. We love this country. We believe that the Constitution should be the law of the land as it was supposed to be. It's not outdated. That's what the amendments are for, to keep it updated, although that should not be abused. And executive orders, I don't know about all that. Anyway, our forefathers sought to create a more perfect union with the Constitution, and we sort of want to, and the Bill of Rights, we want to back that up. We want to bring it back to the way it was supposed to be instead of being blown out of proportion and destroyed and used as toilet paper. As a matter of fact, our motto is acta non verba, which is Latin for actions, not words, and we do our best to live that up.
No, and I want to get back to, you said you have a lot of good links on your page for information. I was going through, you guys have a ton of great links that show a lot of good information about the country and the founding and the Constitution. As far as them using the Constitution as toilet paper, I don't know if they could get it on the roll because it's very brittle, I think, at this point.
And it's weird because you can found an entire nation on just a few pages. I think the healthcare bill you could use as toilet paper because there's enough to make several rolls.
Well, a state could use it as toilet paper.
Yeah, but the Constitution is pretty small. I don't know.
So Sean, once again, it's going to be April 19th at 10:30 in the morning. You guys are getting together?
Yes. Here's the deal. Let's see here. On April 19th, not 10:30 in the morning.
2:30. I'm sorry, 2:30.
Yes. We're going to be staging at Cycle Gear in Sacramento, 5400 Date Avenue, zip code 95841. We're staging at 2:30, briefing at 3 o'clock, and kickstands up, or, everybody's heading out at 3:30.
In my case, it would be pinwheels up, but go ahead.
Well, or training wheels up, however you want to look at it.
Training wheels up.
if I have a 50cc scooter, is that cool?
Yeah, you know what? As long as you can keep up, it's all good. You better have that thing pimped out, man. You better have a good air cleaner on there.
Maybe we'll send Sacco on the Sackhead scooter
with a sidecar.
Yeah,
with a big "Don't Tread on Me" flag.
Sacco, you're scheduled.
You know what's weird though? It's when he puts on his big orange helmet and he keeps saying "wee." It's a little weird. I'm not gonna lie.
Wee.
Oh, you've seen him?
Yeah. Hey, Sean.
So let me ask you: are you going to start a repeal the 17th Amendment campaign?
Well, that may be on the radar. Not right now at this point. I'm sort of waiting for bigger things like that. I'm waiting until our organization grows a little more. We've got 242, I think, members in California. But as you know, especially on the left coast here, the actual core membership is going to be much smaller. Our core is somewhere, it's approaching 24. In Northern California and Southern California, it's approaching 12. So, we're just trying to expand our ranks. The more numbers you have, the more seriously you're taken, the more people notice you.
Well, like I said, I saw you guys at the 223 rally. I certainly noticed you. Hopefully the Sackheads Army out there will help get the core numbers together, and we can help build it. We're proud to sponsor. We're proud to partner up with you guys, and we'll talk about it. If anyone wants to see a copy of the flyer, we're going to be putting it up on our website, sackheadsradio.com, and I think you guys had a link to it on the Sons of Liberty Riders.com. So, Sean, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you very much, sir. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
And you're a talker. Hey, don't put yourself down, sell yourself short. You're a talker.
Hey, Sean, will you come
guys,
back after the event and tell us how it went?
I will do that.
That'd be outstanding. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sean.
You guys have
Sean,
a great night.
You too.
You too.
Sean from Sons of Liberty organization, sonsofliberty.com to find out more information. Moving on, it's going to be a good event. Maybe we should send Sacco. Sacco, are you ready to be dispatched into the field to cover an event?
Yeah, I guess I can go out there.
He sounds excited, folks. We're going to do it. You know what the best part was? Is the yawn in the middle of the where he was like, I think it's
No,
a
you
good
know what's
idea.
going to be the best part is when they pick him out because he's actually on a scooter.
Well, yeah, and he's going to have the big Sackheads radio banner tied to his back. That'll be a good event. Hey, you know what? We need more grassroots event like that. We just need it to happen more and more in this country. People need to get involved, and I love to see people standing up. I also like the fact that it's not just 2A. 2A is a big issue, Second Amendment, but it's pretty much any part of the Constitution that you want to bring attention to and be a part of and support. I think that's kind of cool.
No, I think it's cool also, and I think it helps raise awareness not only about specific issues of the day, but about the Constitution as a whole. One thing I would like is, and I haven't seen a lot of groups do this.
Right.
So, Sean, if you're still listening, just maybe an idea. The Constitution goes hand in hand with the Declaration of Independence, and I actually spoke about this earlier today at a school.
You did have a speech tonight.
I did have a speech tonight. There is there's not a lot of people out there that realize or preach, or even in the protests and gatherings, that the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution actually go hand in hand.
Yes.
And the Constitution is there to enshrine and to restrain government, but also to protect and ensure the rights of the people, as outlined in the Declaration, the rights being natural rights or the rights given to us by our Creator. So, I see a lot of events today talking about the Constitution specifically, which I love. It's a great idea, but I would love to see some of those events actually, bring in some of that Declaration of Independence language and tie those two together. I think it makes a stronger case, absolutely, especially if part of your case is, hey, you know what, the Constitution is not a living, breathing, changing document, which Sean said.
Right.
It's tied. No, these are natural laws which are unchanged. They are unchanging. You cannot change these, and the Constitution is what protects that. Because absent the Declaration, that living, breathing, Darwinian view of the Constitution, that argument can absolutely be made. I do want to talk about another parental rights thing. I believe we have audio.
We may have audio about this one.
Just play it, and then we'll set it up. This was on MSNBC.
Never invested as much in public education as we should have because we've always had kind of a private notion of children. Your kid is yours and totally your responsibility. We haven't had a very collective notion of these are our children. So part of it is we have to break through our kind of private idea that kids belong to their parents or kids belong to their families and recognize that kids belong to whole communities. Once it's everybody's responsibility and not just the households, then we start making better investments.
Wait a second. What?
Huh?
What?
So children don't belong.
Hang on a second.
Wait, what?
This is from MSNBC, and wow. Melissa Harris Perry, and she is a PhD. She's a doctor, so she's really smart.
Yeah, but
because
that doesn't necessarily mean anything.
she is a professor of political science.
Well, as we will get
hang on,
into
at
later,
a huge school, a very prestigious school, Tulane University.
But as we're going to discuss in a few minutes or later in the show, becoming a professor at a university doesn't necessarily mean that you're smart.
It could mean that you're a murderer or a convicted murderer.
Right.
But we'll get there.
We'll get there.
We don't want to jump the story. So, wow, where do we even start on this? So, notice there's kind of this education theme going on tonight, and again, it's been that way. There was delivered a speech tonight, a little speech at one of the local schools, and a tremendous school, and maybe if that school gives us permission, we could go ahead and give them some publicity. But
this is almost like Obama's.
This is typical progressive politics. Okay, or politics.
Everything is public value. Everything is public property now. Nothing is private anymore.
It's a complete abandonment of Western thought.
This is almost like Obama saying, "You didn't build that. You didn't have those kids.
You didn't build those kids." Yes, I did. Here's the video
of the birth, and my wife was mad that I'll show you. But I'll show
you. Of the building. Of the building.
Well, that'll be going up later on SackheadsRadio.com as well. Sacco, can we do video?
Look.
Video of.
Forget it.
No, we can do video.
No, go back to sleep, Sacco.
Go back to sleep.
Hey, stop talking. You're a sound guy. You don't have time.
I'm a sound guy. I can get my own microphone.
Hey, don't push him.
I'm not. Look, she makes the argument. Again, a complete departure from Western thought, complete departure from our American heritage, that children belong to the community.
They are your children.
They are children.
Your children belong to us now.
Do you remember the baby factories that the Nazis established? And hey, you know what? Yeah, your children don't belong to you. They belong to.
They're being taken away now.
I digress.
Then we go put to a place where they're educated appropriately.
Well, and that's the scary thing. This is talking about education, and the progressive movement has so permeated our education system.
Yes.
That we actually have professors arguing with a straight face on MSNBC. Now, granted, it's MSNBC.
Well, I was going to say, it's not exactly like that's groundbreaking.
But
on
how
MSNBC.
many people watch MSNBC and she's a doctor. Oh, wow. Yeah, it is. That's right. It is. It does take a village.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't.
Well, and that gets blown out of proportion because that whole "it takes a village" thing essentially says that the village helps the parents, but that's the difference.
Yes,
is the
that's
parent,
the difference.
That means that your children go in the village, and if your children are stepping out of line, another parent would correct them and then tell that parent about it. They would help them if needed.
Kind of like when our families have dinners together.
Exactly, where we're just whipping people into the corner. Wait,
and that's just you and I.
That right. That has
with our
nothing to do
Lucha
with the rest
Libre
of our
masks
family.
on.
But that I was just getting to the whole "it takes a village" thing. That is so blown out of proportion.
Why are you pointing that pen at me?
Because I am going to write on you
making
in a second.
point.
I am making a point that gets thrown around all the time, and that's not what "it takes a village." "It takes a village" means that your family does the raising, everyone else helps out when it's needed and asked for.
Yeah.
Not just demanded by the tribal lead. I'm sorry, this PhD. Melissa Joan Harder. What was her name? Perry?
Harris Perry. It's a hyphenated name.
Okay.
Listen, it's a very liberating thing to do. Is hyphenate your name.
I was going to take your name when we started the show.
Now we hyphenated it. Sackhead. It's weird.
Somebody told me I didn't have to, and I was like, "There's no way."
Sean Sack.
I'm a traditionalist.
Clint Head, so we just hyphenated it. Sackhead Radio.
I'm a traditionalist. I'm taking his name. Sorry, go on.
I cannot. I haven't seen a lot of outcry over this, to where people are like, how is this even okay? And again, it kind of ties into our other story in that you had the government, the state of California, basically telling practitioners, you will not treat children under the age of 18, whether you believe it's legitimate treatment or not, or whether the parents want you to or not. You will not do it. California passed a law that children under the age of 18 can have abortions without their parental knowledge or consent.
Well, and there was also a judge that essentially today it just came out that mandated that the morning after pill be given out without a prescription over the counter. So it just keeps going.
To minors?
Yeah, to anybody.
Yeah. So, again, it's that whole mindset of, no, we know what's in your child's best interest, not you.
Give your children to us.
Individual liberty, and this, again, it goes back to that natural law, individual liberty, and self-government, self-rule, which we have so gotten away from because our education system is so messed up, and we don't study and read the things that we should be studying and reading. We don't study
at all.
No, we don't read Blackstone's commentaries on the laws. We don't read John Locke. We don't follow the philosophies of Cicero.
Because that's too hard. People want just the easy way out.
I think they don't. I think our education system is set up to a point now where they test to certain standards. In like California, you have to teach, gay and lesbian studies or about gay heroes or whatever it is to elementary children, I think. But there's nothing about. They don't study the Constitution and the founding principles of the United States with any kind of pride or even with any type of objectivity. They don't look at it in terms of what was happening in the world or how other governments had been instituted among men versus now what America has and what America achieved and all that it took, and with its imperfections. But
right,
how the country actually overcame a lot of things,
and our
none of
exceptionalism is never put on the forefront.
No,
it's always we are always taken as elitists, and even our own.
We are. We have freedom and liberty in this country. We are better than you.
But they don't articulate that it was earned. How people worked hard. How during World War II, you had all these, and I use World War II as the prime example because in my opinion, a lot of ways this country was the best in World War II as it ever has been, in the sense that, people were sent off to war, and then everybody else was involved in the war effort, and they were proud to go into these factories, and you had Rosie the Riveter, and you had people take jobs that they never thought they'd work, and everyone did their share, and disabled veterans were coming back and doing jobs to support them. Everybody was doing, and not because the government ordered them to do their share, but because it was pride.
I think I understand what you're saying as in terms of personal responsibility and personal and that pride and doing, the right thing.
Exceptional.
I'm going to disagree with you though on being the best years of our country because those are post Woodrow Wilson years. Those are post 17th Amendment years.
I wasn't talking government wise. I was talking,
and that's why I said I think I understand what you're saying.
Sorry.
Personal
I meant pride in our
responsibility.
Nation. And personal responsibility.
I think pride in country. Yes, we were very together during the World War II period. I mean, you still had some dissenters, some anti-war people, but I think that we were at our best in our country when Thomas Paine was putting out his pamphlets, Common Sense, and because people, and granted, during the time of the Revolution, you had about a 33% split each way, right?
Yeah.
33% Patriot, 33% Tory, 33% neutral, typically. But when Thomas Paine wrote Common Sense, and then he talked about look, he drew people in, and he galvanized a revolutionary spirit, and the founding fathers wrote about this idea of liberty and self-government, and that just because you're a human being, God has given you certain rights that nobody can take away. And while these ideas weren't necessarily new because they're founded on certain philosophies, it was certainly a new way to actually institute a government. And we had George Washington, who was president, who was a very virtuous man, very honest man.
Absolutely.
He served because he was called to serve, not because he wanted to serve anymore. He wanted to retire with his wife at Mount Vernon. That was
he wanted to call it a day.
Where he wanted to go. But he was a principled leader. And the farther we've gone past that founding era, the farther apart we have gotten from those principles and ideals. Nobody talks like that anymore.
Right. And I understand what you're saying there, and I'm not disagreeing with you. I just meant, because like you said,
I'd like to point out for our audience that this is yet another one of those times when I am right. Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
You said 33% Tory, 33% Patriot, roughly, and 33% neutral. And I think as far as supporting the effort of World War II and everyone getting on board to do their share, I think the pride aspect, but we also went through World War I, we went through the Civil War, we had a lot of different changes in this country. But I think everybody, and a lot of it had to do with Pearl Harbor, I think everybody agreed that it was the right thing to do. And not every single person, but a large majority of the country.
I would agree with that.
And that's the standpoint that I'm coming from.
Okay.
When I say that it was the greatest pride that people had, I think I was talking about as a whole. That was like the one thing everybody agreed on. It was coming out of the Great Depression. We were recovering for it. Yeah, we were.
I didn't say anything.
Oh, all right. Well, you looked at me like I was insane, and
you are insane.
Oh, well, that's a good point.
I agree with them.
All right. No, stipulated. I am insane. But that's where I was going with that. However, to get back to our point.
How did we even get here? Are you kidding me right now?
How do we go running off? We started with this lunatic Harris, and we ended up in World War II at Pearl Harbor.
We do that, though.
Yeah, I know. We do that.
Getting back, you know what? It takes American families. It takes American families to stand up to this type of idiocy and say, no, our children are ours. It is my way to raise my children. It's my choice of how I want my child to grow up.
I agree.
It's my choice with what values I instill in children. And if you're going to instill some toxic crap in his or her head, then no, it's my duty as a parent to keep my child safe from those views which I view to be a detriment to my child's liberty and life and happiness later on. For example, instituting those Marxist communist views of the collective possession or collective responsibility of even raising children, because that is going to lead to my country's downfall, and as a result, my child's downfall.
I couldn't agree more in that regard. We are up against a break.
You're up against a break.
We do have a couple calls on hold. We're also going to have the news coming up here shortly. Stick around. We will be right back with the Sackheads Radio Show.
Hey, if you care about what's going on in the world, you cannot afford to miss my show. Hi, this is Andrea Kaye, your host of The Andrea Kaye Show. It's not always about the money. Okay, it is always about the money, but it's also about politics, pop culture, and you. The only thing street about this show is the smarts. There's a reason they call me Dynamite in a Dress, and you'll find out why when you listen Tuesday mornings at 10 on Financial News and Talk.
Hello, I'm Paul, a student at Hillsdale College. Here is my professor, Dr. Larry Arnn, on the separation of church and state.
America's founders believed in the separation of church and state, in that the country was not to have an official religion or an official sect. But that did not mean that government was to be hostile to religion, or even indifferent to religion, as many today argue. In fact, America's founding document, the Declaration of Independence, includes both a reference to God as the author of the laws of nature and a confident assertion that human beings are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights. Far from being hostile or indifferent to religion, America's founders understood the theology of the Declaration to be an essential part of the education of citizens.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.org.
How you doing? John Grant here. When I'm not slaving over a hot microphone on the 405radio.com Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern, I check out Sean and Clint here at Sackheads Radio. We all appreciate the best political bloggers, writers, and commentators We either get them on our shows or we make fun of them, as it should be. So check us out live Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern or forever on the podcasts on the 405radio.com.
3, 2, 1.
Hey, this is Sackhead Clint. I want to take this opportunity to thank all the wingnut leaders throughout the world to give our men and women of the armed forces a job, as well as all the anarchists, terrorists, and Occupy folks that give our men and women in uniform on the home front, firefighters, law enforcement personnel, and first responders, job security here in the States as well. So thank all you wingnuts out there. This is Sackhead Clint saying have a good day.
Now back to Clint and Sean on Sackheads Radio, radiating elegancy and quality.
And we're back on the show with the Sackheads Radio. We have a couple calls on hold that we're going to get to. The first one.
You know who I miss? I miss Ken.
Don't you miss Ken?
Ken hasn't called in a while.
Ken needs to spend more time with us. And he's
got the greatest voice.
Sacco, who's on hold?
It's not Ken.
Oh, okay, good. Hey, caller, you're on hold. Who is this?
This is Ken.
Oh, hey, Ken. Ken from the exceptional executive conservative. You can be an executive conservative.
No, he is the executive because it's his show.
That's right. The exceptional conservative.
It's the exceptional executive conservative. What's the problem?
You know, actually, I made that mistake on my second show.
Did you really?
I called myself.
See, you knew all along. Hey, maybe that means you're going to run for office some. No, you're too smart for that.
Yeah, I'm too smart. Way too smart.
What's
too many
going on,
people
buddy?
too. Listen, I'm ready to get into the dating field to take my chances with the new single black female in the White House.
And who is that?
That's Michelle Obama. She's a single black mother, and this is an opportunity, you know. Man's not home, and all of a sudden she's single. I tell you.
You know, she got him home. Was like, you're about to be single.
You know, Hillary. You know, she immediately called Hillary and said, "Okay, how did you deal with it?"
Okay, so I found this dress, and
Anna
Maduro. I don't
dress
understand.
with a little white little thing.
That's weird. I thought he just smoked cigarettes. I didn't know Obama smoked cigars. That's bizarre.
A Maduro.
Hey, you all were there when he made the remark about your attorney general.
I was
being
not
the
there.
hottest.
I was nowhere near there.
Yeah, you know, he went through and he was doing a private fundraiser in California, and the president said something effective. You know, she's brilliant, she's tough, and she also happens to be the most attractive attorney general. We're doing some research, first of all, to see if he's even right about that remark, because there may be somebody more attractive, not even necessarily a woman,
correct,
out there that could be an attorney
Pam
general.
Bundy in Florida. Pam
Who
Bundy.
is it? Oh.
Pam Bundy. She's the attorney general for Florida. She's a babe. Hands down. It says we're in a market of objectifying. It says Democrats can do it.
Whoa.
You know,
I
you know,
just pulled
there
up
we go.
Attorney General Bondi, and I would have to agree with you that she is a very, very attractive Attorney General.
She's a babe. There you go. I said, hey, that's our job.
Wait, did you say Peg Bundy? Because I'm getting a completely.
Listen, in the new Sharia America, we can objectify women and make them single mothers even when they're married to you.
Well, you know, it's funny because a lot of people have in the past have accused this White House of being a boys' club, as much as he says that it's not, and only selecting men for a lot of key posts in the cabinet and in his staff. And I'm glad you brought this up, because us being the Sackheads Radio that we are, we have a clip and we're prepared.
Well, hang on a second, real quick. I do want to say this. I do want to defend the president on this.
Okay.
Because perhaps he is more attracted to mental stimulation, and Pam Bondi, even though she is a lot more attractive physically than Kamala Harris, she is in fact a Republican. So he may not find her as intellectually stimulating,
Sean,
and because And because Kamala Harris is
Sean.
so far left.
Second Clinton, it's wrong this time.
Really.
Yeah, but you have to look at it. It's in the eye of the
beholder. Is it a possibility?
It's in the eye. I would defend Clinton on this. It's in the eye of the beholder, and when that eye is jaded to only like certain political points of view.
Now, why did you bring Eric Holder into this?
Wait a minute. Well, jaded.
Because he has to defend him in the divorce proceedings.
Exactly.
Maybe I don't know.
In the case of William Jefferson Clinton, it's in the hand of the beholder.
Or on the
eye.
Holder.
You know, I want everyone to know.
Or in the humidifier of the beholder.
We were set up to talk about this segment, and you called in, and I want everyone to know we did not set this up with you. So it's another episode of Great Minds Thinking Alike.
Exactly.
But Carney did respond to a question about that. And
The Carney
has small hands, smells like cabbage. And this was Brianna Keeler from CNN that asked the initial question. I couldn't find out who
she's a babe, too.
She is a babe. I'll give her that. But I didn't know who.
Why do you hate women?
That's Ken from the executive conservative. I did it again. You realize that our train comes right off the track and we just go into joke time. Like we completely.
I am so looking forward to y'all come back this month. Go ahead and play that clip.
All right, here's the clip.
Brianna,
I have a non-budget question.
Come on, you enjoyed that.
Let's see if you enjoy this one. President Obama yesterday called California Attorney General Kamala Harris by far the best-looking Attorney General. It's created quite a buzz and an uproar. Some say it highlights what they see as a troubling pattern of a woman's success being linked to her appearance, and that it's unseemly for the President of the United States to say that. How has he reflected on his comments since making them, and has he called Harris?
The President did speak with Attorney General Harris last night after he came back from his trip, and he called her to apologize for the distraction created by his comments. And, they are old friends and good friends, and he did not want in any way to diminish the Attorney General's professional accomplishments and her capabilities. And I would note that he called her, in those same comments, brilliant, dedicated, and tough, and she is all those things. She has been a remarkably effective leader as Attorney General. She is a key player in the mortgage settlement, which will help many, many middle-class families who are struggling to deal with the mortgage situation in this country. And he believes and fully recognizes that the challenges he fully recognizes the challenge women continue to face in the workplace, and that they should not be judged based on appearance.
He felt like he messed up with what he said.
Well, look, I think I made clear he apologized for creating this distraction, and believes very strongly that Attorney General Harris is an excellent Attorney General, and that she's done great work, and she's dedicated and tough and brilliant.
And
Jay, just to follow up on Harris, twice you said the President apologized for the distraction.
Mm-hmm.
Does he not think that the remark was sexist?
Well, he apologized for the remark, and they're old friends, and look, I mean, the President has known her for a long time, and he apologized for it, and he certainly regretted that it caused the distraction that Brianna referred to, and
make a distinction.
No, I'm making clear, I think, that he apologized for it, and believes that she is a superb Attorney General for the state of California, has done an excellent job in all areas, and especially on this mortgage settlement issue.
And the President also likes her because she's the only Attorney General in California history to be elected without a single endorsement from public safety, so she's got to be a real peach.
Yeah, she's a babe.
Well, I was expecting. I can sum up all of Carney's response right now.
Okay, go. Yeah.
You want to talk about a guy that had a set of talking points if somebody asked a question, he went with it the first time, then whoever the other reporter was that said, well, Doesn't he think this was a sexist remark? He just repeated it. Well, he thinks the president seems to think that she's a great attorney general. She's dedicated and tough.
The president's sorry his remark caused a distraction. Well, is he sorry for the remark?
Well, yeah. Can we
sorry
charge
about
him?
the distraction.
Can we charge him like texting and driving?
Were quite a distraction.
Yeah, I mean,
what did he distract from?
Hey, wait a second. You can't say that because it is the right that has a war on women.
Right.
Come on, Ted, you know better than that.
You want to talk about just the weirdest? First of all, when we talked about this today,
What if Paul Ryan's had said that?
Oh, can you even imagine? I mean, it's amazing. I'm shocked. You know, I don't know if she gets Attorney General Harris gets the same twinge up her legs that Chris Matthews does from the president, but this is another example of him being able to get away with saying something ridiculously inappropriate, even if he was joking. You just don't say that as the executive-in-chief when you don't regularly make jokes.
I'm going to say this. I'm sorry. I have to say this. It's just a curiosity to me that on the same night that he makes the remark about Harris is on that same afternoon, Michelle was talking about being a single mama. And
was it before or after? Because maybe she heard that remark and she thought she was going to become a single mama real quick. I mean, he does make presidential salary. It's really. Hey, can she take half the presidency if she leaves? Could she get half the presidency in a divorce? Is that legal?
I think that's why he wanted to have golf with Tiger Woods and work that thing out before, you know. What did you go through, man?
That's a good point. Was that what he was like, hey, you had a pretty good deal. You bought your way out of this okay. What did you do?
Yeah, because I don't want her to get half my presidency.
Wait, $500 million? Ooh. Yeah, I'm just a community organizer.
You have to ask yourself, was it Michelle that said that, or was it her bangs? Because, sometimes they influence, polling and public opinion. Those little bangs there in the front of her head there. Sometimes they can shift her mentality there. All kinds of things can happen.
I asked a friend of mine what she thought of the First Lady's bangs, and she said, if something doesn't scream midlife crisis like that, I don't know what does. But here's the sad part. You now are seeing a whole bunch of left-leaning women on TV and movies and stuff wearing their bangs like that. It's almost like solidarity. Like they feel bad for her, so they're doing it. You know, like if somebody's sick and they go through chemo treatments, other people shave their. It's almost like that in a weird way. Like they're like, well, I'm going to have hideous bangs too.
Are you saying it's almost like a cult?
It is. Ooh, is it almost?
It's almost like a cult following.
Do they have their Nikes and their purple shrouds and their cut bangs?
But amazingly, they both seem to be going through a midlife crisis. They have separate holidays, their vacations. They trek all over the place apart from what. It's very rare that you see them together, and when they are together, they're normally showing up at funerals.
It's weird that you see Joe. It's weird that you see Slackjaw Joe, the vice president, and this president together all the time, but him and the family, not so much.
Not so much. But, I really am heartened by the persistency of the press. They asked more questions about this than they did Benghazi.
Well, yeah, this is a big deal. And you're seeing, this is funny that you brought that up, and as I was reading this, how many mainstream media outlets went after this, and were like, oh my God, it's a boys' club, and the war on women, and blah, blah. This was a big deal, and like you said, Benghazi, Fast and the Furious, event, nothing, crickets. So it kills you that they pick and choose what they want to go after him about, and it's always stuff that, he's I'm starting to call him the Teflon president. He makes Clinton look bad at this as time goes on.
Well, here's the thing, Sean. Here's why it's not sexist. It's not sexist because he is a progressive left-leaning president, and those cannot, in fact, be sexist. Therefore, his statement was purely innocuous. Well, whereas if a person from the right had said, Ken, if you would have said that, would be a complete sexist because people on the right are in fact sexist. Not only that, but you would be racist.
That would actually make me a Baptist minister. But never mind.
No, I would just be turning on every major media outlet and have you sitting there going, well, what I really meant by saying that was that I just thought that, hold on, I have my talking points from the administration.
I believe in food stamps for everyone.
Part of me has a problem with the fact that if this was just a lighthearted joke, that we've become so... We look at so much with a microphone, a microscope rather. I look at things with a microphone, but I'm really not good at science. We look at things with such a big microscope now that nothing can be left untouched. Mm-hmm. Where if he just, if this was off the cuff and he was just like, oh, you know what, she's also really pretty, then people are like, oh my God, I can't believe he said that. But then I also think of it from the other point of view that if this was George W. Bush, even George Sr. or any other conservative in office, they would be outcrying the terrible war on women. And, the headline would be that, Bush thinks Harris is hot, thinks she belongs in kitchen barefoot. Like, it would be insane how twisted this becomes, and that's what this media does. They twist it to whatever way. Now, this becomes more of a feel-good story because at the end he's going to come out. He came out through Carney, and it's just like, oh, you know what? He didn't mean it. He just wanted to highlight how wonderful she was and how beautiful women can also be smart. And he's actually trying to help offset the war on women by proving that point. And they're going to spin this to make him look like a hero, where at the end of the day, he was just being a guy for once.
Yeah, see, because women, they're going to say, see, he was just saying that women can be smart and beautiful.
That's exactly.
You don't have to be one or another.
I'm telling you, that's how it's going to come out.
He's breaking
but you know what?
Down these societal barriers.
One of the scary things here is that the last Teflon president that they had was William Jefferson Clinton, who had an impeachment trial over the very same, or, well, not so same, but wherever there's smoke, there's normally going to be a lead-in for fire sooner or later. And I could see the press all of a sudden going into immediate overt cover-up strategy. The covert strategy that they used in Benghazi became their overt strategy here. They could not accept that this president would set himself up in such a situation that an impeachment may come from a sexual behavior, especially when you have the gay rights marriage thing going on, pedophilia becoming a new sexual orientation. People want to line up and marry their horses over there in West Virginia. All kinds of things are happening all over the world.
Did West Virginia legalize that? I didn't see that news blurb.
It was never illegal.
Come on. Well, there goes our West Virginia listener base. I'll check them off the list right now.
Who are we offending next?
And that's
I will never listen to the Exceptional Conservative Show ever again.
That's a good thing this isn't a sackhead show.
And this is
You're screwed, Ken. I'm sorry.
That's clear.
I wish I had your theme music, Ken. I'd start playing it right now. I agree that this is just going to be a media spin, and we saw it with Clinton. And this isn't to the point that Clinton's situation was, but we saw it with Clinton where everyone was outraged initially, and then when people actually said, hey, you know what? He lied. It's not what he did, but he lied about it, and we want to impeach him for it. Then media rushed to his defense. You know what I mean? Oh, what happens between a couple behind their own doors, that came out all the time, and, blah, 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 and we should respect their privacy and all that. It's amazing how, yes, we need this to be the hot news subject because it draws people in, but this guy is the guy we like and we want. So in a week or so, we're going to defend him and we're going to roll over for him because we're really a lapdog media at the end of the day, and that's exactly what's going to happen. Don't you agree?
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly with you. Also, in addition to that, he's already under a great deal of ire from liberal women regarding his chauvinistic approaches to dealing with women in the White House in the first place. It's known as a very hostile work environment, in the first place. And then secondly, to have so few women. I believe he just nominated someone to be Secretary of Drapery. Apparently there are not too many positions for women in the White House or blacks, unless, of course, you're going to be the Department of Justice cover-up guy. But beyond that.
Well, and I didn't even know.
Just say divorce attorney. That's all you have to say. Just need divorce attorney.
Are you saying that a prerequisite for being Attorney General is to be black?
Well, no, just to be a good cover-up guy.
Oh, okay. So,
he just happened to be black this time. But I assure you.
Female, black, white, as long as you can cover up his mess, he's all for it. So he has equal opportunity.
Equal opportunity. Thank God for affirmative action. Yeah. They all work for white people in this administration.
Now, would that mean, using that progressive philosophy, does that mean that he would have to hire more white people?
He has to.
For him, right. Because for him, that would be the affirmative action, right?
Exactly. It is reverse affirmative action. Well, actually, reverse affirmative action is negative action.
Right.
So hiring a whole lot of white people is negative action.
Negative? Why are you so racist?
Mr. President, I mean, the executive conservative, what?
You just lost your entire white listening base. Since there's not...
Oh, God. But that's okay. I still have those who are climbing over the fence in front of McCain. They will listen to me.
Hey, Ken,
we'll listen to you, too.
Can you remember about 25 minutes ago when you're like, hey, I'm going to call in and chime in, Lazarus. This seems like a really good idea. Don't you think you will?
Gentlemen, wonderful show. Great show. Keep up the great work. I'll be listening to you always.
Hey, we will catch you this week on the Exceptional Conservative Show on Blog Talk Radio. Ken, thank you so much for calling in, my friend.
It's been a
pleasure. His laugh has to be the most infectious laugh on the planet. He gets me giggling just by his laughing alone.
You know what, though? I think that's his personality coming through, because he is such he's a genuinely good guy.
Oh, I love him.
And his personality comes through, and his laugh is infectious. His personality is infectious. He brings a lot of energy to whatever we're doing. Love having him on the show. Love listening to his show.
Yeah, you got to check his show out. It's absolutely great show. He just kills me, man.
We're up against our last break.
We come back. We have the news.
No. I'm just kidding. When we come back with the news, if we have time, I have one more education piece.
We do.
To kind of wrap things up with, if we can get to it. This is Clint.
And this is Sean. We'll be back in a minute with Sackheads Radio.
Sackheads Radio.
Hello, I'm Lori, a student at Hillsdale College. Here is Hillsdale President Dr. Larry Arnn on how the founders viewed God as the source of our equality and legal rights.
America's founders knew, obviously, that human beings are not equal in terms of strength or beauty, or in terms of intelligence, industry, or talents. They understood that because of such differences in talents and things like that, some people would be wealthier than others. But human beings are equal, the founders believe, in their possession of natural rights, such as the rights to life, liberty, and property. Today, many Americans reject this equality of rights in order to pursue equality of condition through redistribution, or spreading the wealth around, to use a famous formulation. This is destructive of liberty as the founders understood it.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.org.
Hey guys, it's Sean from Sackheads Radio. I know I've said it before. Check out our friends at conservativeoutcry.net, but I really mean it. If you want interesting and exciting political commentary and analysis, that is the place to get it. Different, always spot on, always truthful, never pulling a punch. conservativeoutcry.net. Tell Rooster to get Bulldog back on and that Sackheads Radio sent you. And also, coming soon, the Sackheads Radio Forum on conservativeoutcry.net.
How you doing? John Grant here. When I'm not slaving over a hot microphone on the 405radio.com Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern, I check out Sean and Clint here at Sackheads Radio. We all appreciate the best political bloggers, writers, and commentators. We either get them on our shows or we make fun of them, as it should be. So check us out live Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern or forever on the podcasts on the 405radio.com.
Hi, this is Sarah Marie Brenner. You know, we often talk on the Brenner Brief about the fact that there really needs to be an organization to help people at the local level who are interested in running for things like school boards, city council, and other local offices. Well, I think I finally have the solution for you, at least for you women out there. It's called Politigal Network, Politigal Network.com. Their website's going to be launching mid-August, but they're already on Twitter at PoliticalUSA. I encourage you to follow them and become a member. Their goal is to be the #1 resource for conservative women. So if you love freedom, liberty, the United States of America, and politics, check out PoliticalNetwork.com or Twitter at PoliticalUSA.
Now back to Clint and Sean on Sackheads Radio.
You know what would be a lot of fun?
And quality.
It would be a lot of fun.
What's that?
If we got together with Ken, like maybe just once in a rare while,
yeah,
and did like a collaborative show.
I think that's a brilliant idea.
We could call it the Exceptionally Conservative Sackhead Show. Huh? What do you think?
That was better than my idea for a name.
What'd you have?
The White, Black, and Pink Round Table.
Just pick a night, right?
Yes.
Get it out on Twitter, Facebook, or whatever, and just do a 2-hour show, hour show, whatever, and bring topics to the table and just see what we can come up with, or even if we can make it through one topic.
I don't know.
Almost like a game show.
I don't know if we'd make. You know what we should do? We'll have a list of topics and we'll shuffle them up.
Right.
And we'll have a time period and see if we can 10 minutes a topic. We'll have a buzzer. Sacco can be the moderator. Say, okay, this is the topic.
Sacco's going to have to wear a skirt though.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm okay with that. We'll have Sacco moderate it. You have 10 minutes. This is the topic. When I hit the buzzer, you have to stop, no matter what. And then we'll do...
No, because I can see Clint be like, no. No,
you mute him. That would be that's great.
You know what? You're getting ridiculous now. Let's get back on topic. It would be great to do a collaborative show with them. I think people would have a good time. I'd have a good time with it.
I totally agree. We'll reach out to Ken and we'll work on that. We'll come up with a night that we're both able.
To do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Moving on right now, I'm going to send it over to the newsroom, and I'm going to open up our line into the news into our news studio next door to us, where we have
Newsroom 1,
where we have Vern, who's going to give us topics, and our new segment is she gives us the topics, we pick which one we want to talk about, she reads it, we rip it apart.
That's a long topic name or segment name.
I like that. It was either
Stop talking. Vern's trying to say something.
It was either that or it was going to be called Slapshot News.
I like that better.
Okay, good. So here's Vern with the Slapshot News. Vern, how are you?
Sacco's right about Clint, though. That is so funny. So funny. No. Hilarious. You got it. All right.
See, we got you laughing, too.
I'm
a
product of affirmative action, too. Thanks, guys.
But you're not conservative, Vern. But you're not conservative.
But that shows our depth and how much we reach across the aisle.
It does. And the fact that Vern enjoys working with us and we enjoy working with her shows how awesome we are.
It's also 25% of our staff is female.
Ooh. And black.
And black.
Yeah.
And liberal.
We pretty much just picked the person that would fit all of our mold. That way there's 3 white conservatives against you.
And I am rather attractive for a liberal. I'm kind of pretty.
Obama would love to meet you.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah.
I would love to see what he would say about you. What's our news topics?
All right. God, such a diva. All right, first things first. All right, Obama seeks deal, proposes cuts to Social Security. We've got a judge
I don't
making
want that liberal piece.
From the Liberal News Gal. Judge making the morning after appeal available to all. Obama apologizing to California AG for comment on looks, but you guys have already covered that.
We were waiting on it, but Ken jumped into it for us, so I apologize there. Go on.
Expensive. Joint Chiefs Chairman in Afghanistan for talks, talking about the whole situation there, aimed at assessing the type of level and additional training that's needed. North Korea aggression could strengthen U.S.-China bonds.
Let's do that one.
And
wait, she's not done.
I want that one.
See?
I see something, I go right after it.
Whatever Lola wants, Lola gets. Go for it, Vern.
You've got the gang member arrested in the corrections killing probe. You've got school faces new questions in Colorado massacre. And you've got a Georgia man stabbed and unleashed dogs on pig in a mobile home.
Wait, what do you mean pig?
All right, let's go with North Korea so Clint stops whining. I want to know about dogs being unleashed on a pig. So go with North Korea first.
First things first, North Korea's latest outburst of nuclear and military threats has given the U.S. a rare opportunity to build bridges with China, a potential silver lining to the simmering crisis that could revitalize the Obama administration's flagging policy pivot to Asia. The architect of the administration's Asia policy describes a subtle change in the Chinese thinking as a result of Pyongyang's recent nuclear tests, rocket launches, and abandonment of the armistice that ended the 1950-53 war with South Korea.
Now, when you're saying they're building bridges with China, are we using Chinese steel to build those bridges?
Yeah, is this a literal bridge or a figurative bridge?
Because that's a heck of a project, but is it a shovel-ready bridge?
And are we using stimulus funds for that bridge? Is it going to go from China to the U.S., and are they going to use it since their Navy's not that powerful as a means of invasion for us?
Yes, and yes, and yes.
Okay. Okay. I am going to take the dogs unleashed on pigs.
Oh, my favorite. Here we go. And this is where? In Springfield, Georgia. A man unleashed his 2 pit bulls on the neighbor's pet pig that got loose in a mobile home park, then stabbed the animal 23 times in front of children and other onlookers, according to authorities. The pig, named Oliver, survived and was in critical condition at a veterinarian's hospital. He added that Oliver had been stabbed mostly in his neck and hind parts.
Why would that be your favorite story, Vern?
Are you like me? Do you like bacon?
You're scaring me.
I was being.
You're supposed to love. You're supposed to love animals.
Yeah.
That was sarcasm, but apparently it failed miserably. My apologies.
You're a liberal. You can't.
You guys do sarcasm and it's okay. The black chick does sarcasm and it falls short. It's a problem. Now we got.
Are you calling us racist?
Listen, my first question is going to be, why, if he wanted bacon, he would go about it via pit bull and stabbing?
Okay, first of all, I have an answer for that.
Okay.
Any sissy can hunt with a bow.
This is true.
Okay? It takes now I would have pit bulls and a knife, that's unique. I would have given him props if he went pig hunting with a hawk.
Ooh, pig hunting with a hawk.
Right?
Now, that's an interesting look at it. I just want to know what this pig did to draw the aggression of this man. Was it severe oinking? What was it?
Obviously, it's the pig's fault.
That all I'm saying is, if mainstream media were to cover this, and the liberal media is covering this for us, I'm guessing that it is somehow the pig's fault that they're the victim.
Yes.
Did I say this was Springfield, Georgia, in a mobile home park? I'm just saying. I mean, like you guys are looking for reasons for what?
There goes our Georgia listener.
I mean, I'm sure there may have been alcoholic beverages involved, but it doesn't say. I'm just speculating. As the liberal news media, I'm speculating. I'm putting my spin on the story.
Well, there goes our Georgia listeners and our mobile home listeners. Thank you.
And our alcoholic listeners, and they're our funnest people.
Clint, you get the next choice. What news story do you want to hear for the last news story of the night? I want to go with the judge and the abortion pill because I brought that up earlier.
Okay.
Well, you know what?
Thanks for letting me pick. Let's do it with the judge and the abortion pill.
And there you go.
He's not always the one that leads the show.
Not always. All right, so judge making morning after pill available to all. The morning after pill might become as easy to buy as aspirin. In a scathing rebuke accusing the Obama administration of letting election year politics trump science, a federal judge ruled Friday that there should be no age restrictions on the sale of emergency contraception without a doctor's prescription. So there.
Well,
do we know what district this judge was in? Was it a federal appellate court judge or which judge this was?
This was in New York. This was in the Brooklyn area.
So I'm guessing it's an appellate judge on a local level.
So state appellate court.
State appellate court. You know, I just want to know, having an abortion being as easy as a headache. I've never heard anyone wake up and went, I need a cup of coffee and a pill. I think I'm pregnant.
Okay, but think about it. Think about what you just said there.
Okay.
Abortion is easy as a headache. Prevention is as easy as a headache.
Right.
Right.
Right. No, I understand what you're saying.
Okay.
I understand what you're saying.
Look, I'm not for this.
I am not for this at all.
At all. I am not. My view. Right, here we go. Here comes the hate mail. My view. I'm pro-choice. Your choice is whether you decide to engage in sexual intercourse or not. And one of the side effects of that choice is pregnancy, regardless of what precautions you use. Now, look, I understand there's cases of incest and rape, and those cases can be very specific. They can have very traumatic effects on the mother, and I believe a case can be argued. We talk about liberty. The liberty of one ceases when it infringes on the liberty of others. So I think a libertarian argument can be made, although I don't know very successfully, that the mother's liberty is jeopardized by a pregnancy caused in one of those extreme horrific cases. And so there may be an arguable case for those very limited scenarios. However, as a form of birth control, yeah, you do have a choice. Your choice is made when you decide to engage in sex. And it's not just the choice of the woman. That choice involves a man too. Last I checked, it takes both and that life is now not just part of the woman's body, but it is part of the man also. So I have issue on the abortion issue for that, and now especially if you have a pill that's available over the counter that is easy to get. I mean, I have to show a driver's license to get Sudafed.
Right.
And so you're going to allow a child or somebody to be able to get this morning after pill, or somebody under the age of 18 or whatever, without parental consent, No, it's ridiculous.
It goes into government overreach one more time, and I'll tell you why. We have all these government programs in schools for sex education. Along with that, they hand out these condoms. They do talk about every...
And they're not allowed to talk about abstinence.
Right.
Why would you talk about abstinence?
Right, because they believe that there's some religious undertone about that versus just discussing it as a practice versus any sort of religious connotation. And then they're going to go one step further. They're going to say, okay, because we know kids don't learn anything in our schools nowadays because the teachers don't make them teach because a lot of teachers just give up, we're going to go one step further and say, just in case you didn't sit through class and pay attention and you go out and get pregnant, we're now going to give you a pill on top of the contraception and all the education that most parents don't even know is being taught, and we're going to make this all go away so you don't even have to go to your parents and say, hey, guess what? I made a mistake.
Again, we're talking about parental rights and shutting down that line of communication with the parents and removing the parents from the lives of the child. Woodrow Wilson said it. Our goal, meaning the progressive goal, is to make the son as unlike the father as we possibly can.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, do you think that Sandra Fluke just upped and moved to New York?
Yes.
Okay, wanted to make sure.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Hey, Vern?
Yes?
We appreciate you on this show.
Thank
and we
you
want
so
you to
much,
know
Vern.
that you're an equal member and you contribute just as much as we. Hey, listen, I'm not done reading the disclaimer our lawyer makes us read. You're an equal member of this show, and your participation makes this show what it is, and we could not do this without you, and we appreciate you for not only your mind, but your contribution, and thank you so much for the shows. How do you like your new studio we built you?
It's fabulous. Yes, like this little bunker that's underground with the canned foods. Right, I'm sitting right next to all the canned goods and that what is that MRE thing? Is that what that's? Food in a bag or something?
Don't forget the guns and ammo.
Great.
You got the guns and ammo?
It is. As a matter of fact, I got that strapped on now.
hey, it's all fun and games till North Korea launches a nuke.
Hey, you never know what could happen. We're also working on. We're working on getting the guy that's been in there for 2 weeks living. We're going to get him out of there and the water heater as soon as we possibly can. But believe me, that's your newsroom. That little 3x4 space, that's all you, girl.
Thank you. And you'll get rid of the guy. Hello.
His name's Hank. If you give him an MRE every day, he'll leave you alone.
Fine.
Vern with the news.
Thanks,
Thank you, Vern. We'll talk to you next week. Oh, man. I'm almost afraid to ask for the news sometimes now because it scares me.
I was hoping she was going to have this story in the news.
Which one would that be?
The final one that I'm going to bring up right now. Do you know who Kathy Bouden is? Bouden. I don't even care about how to pronounce her name properly.
No.
You don't?
No.
She was a former member of the Weather Underground. You know Bill Ayers?
Oh, yeah.
Bill Ayers, who used to instruct at Columbia University.
Yes.
Until he retired.
Right. That gentle soul who was a terrorist.
She was part of it. She was actually one of the FBI's wanted for the conspiracy and mob action and so forth. She was actually involved in an armed car robbery where she drove the getaway vehicle, helped plan it, and all that kind of awesome stuff. Where an Brinks guard was shot and killed, and a police officer was shot and killed during the escape. She was found guilty and served 22 years in prison. Hey, did you know who's the new adjunct professor at Columbia University?
No, who?
Catherine Bouden.
Weird, but it kind of makes sense to me, and I'll tell you why.
Because Bill Ayers was there.
Columbia's a rough place.
Right.
There's a lot of crime in Columbia. They have a lot of kidnappings and stuff like that. So maybe she's teaching a self-defense thing.
No. This is Columbia University in the United States.
Oh, I thought it was the Federal Columbian University in the country of Columbia.
No.
Columbia? I thought they were like hiring her to help deal with the drug cartels and how to kill. Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting. So,
but you know what? There's nothing to worry about because she was a community organizer when she did all those things.
Well, then she's absolutely fine. Did she work in Chicago?
Maybe.
I'm just saying she did a good job because Chicago's nailing it.
She did. She did. She went to Chicago for the riots during the Democratic National Convention in 1968. She was there for that.
Weird. Hey, let me ask you this question, and maybe you know, maybe you don't. Columbia University, now that I know we're talking about the one here in America, do they take federal funding at all?
Probably. I don't know for sure, but probably.
So if they do, vis-a-vis, you and I, are paying to have a
cop killer
educate people.
Educate our youth.
That's amazing. Listen, you want to talk about the land of opportunity. Only in America can you go to jail for 22 years for your participation in a double homicide and a robbery, get out and become a college professor at a major university. I'm sure that she has all the expertise.
Well, she does. She was actually involved in the bombing incident where she was making pipe bombs with nails as shrapnel, and one of them ended up going off in their apartment and killing another member of the Weather Underground.
No, that's a incident.
Yeah, no, she's very nice, but she's been honored since she's been out on parole for murder.
Oh,
yeah, the Scheinberg Scholar. She's been named.
Who says parolees can't get jobs?
She's been named the Scheinberg Scholar in Residence at NYU Law School.
Well, I'll tell you, if there's one thing New York can do is really take care of its people. 7-round magazines, the soda bans going on, we have over-the-counter pills, people are losing their guns left and right, and a murderer at NYU. This is outstanding.
Well, scholar in residence at NYU Law School. Yeah, and then Columbia University going to hire a convicted murderer on parole to teach our young, influential
Is
college
this not
students.
the land of opportunity? Where anybody, despite anyone they've killed, as long as they were part of somebody and they were politically corrected to some sort of extremist organization, they can get ahead.
Well, she's a communist, too. In a parade, she carried the North Korean flag, or the Viet Cong flag.
That's what
at
I
the time
love.
the Vietnam War was going on.
That's what I love even more about this country. You could be a full-blown, self-avowed communist and do things like get a job in the White House
and carry the flag of our enemy during the time of war.
Yes. You could get a job in the White House. You could be on parole for a double homicide and get a job at a university. I mean, we take care of everybody in this country. And by take care of, I mean literally we take care of everybody in this country. That is good for her. It's so nice to see a young person like that be able to get ahead.
Do you think she's a Tropics fan? I say that because she spent some time in Flint, Michigan.
Oh, she could be a Tropics fan. You know who else she might be a fan of, though, who hails from Flint, Michigan?
Who's that?
You don't know? I don't know if I should even tell you. All right, you know what? Yeah, I will tell you.
See, why the hell you got to put me on the spot like that? Michael Moore's a douchebag.
So she could very well be tied in tightly to Michael Moore, who is, in fact, a douchebag. And we, just so everyone knows, we occasionally tweet him that just so he's reminded.
I think he knows.
I don't think he does.
You don't think he does?
If I was aware of how big of a douchebag I was and I was Michael Moore, I would go away, be thankful for what I had, and shut my mouth. But that's just me. You know, Ken just brought up a good point that even Mao Zedong hung an ornament in the White House Christmas tree at one point. So we are truly the land of opportunity. I am just so grateful that...
No, we're not. We're a land who's losing our national heritage and our national identity.
Right. But we also have opportunity for people that don't necessarily earn it. Hey, because she's on parole, for people that don't know, doesn't that mean she's still technically in prison in a way, just released early?
Yeah, she's still technically under the control of the state, although I don't know if New York really controls anybody.
I'd like to see what if she's on, I would like to see what the terms of her probation are. Parole, rather.
Yeah, you must not engage in bombings.
Okay.
Well, now hang on a second. Let's think about this for a second. I just thought of this, and I don't know why I just thought of this. I should have thought about this. This should have been immediately apparent to me. We are worried about mass murderers in our schools.
Yes.
We are having a huge gun debate in this country because of mass murder committed in our schools.
Yes.
She is a murderer.
Yes.
Who got hired to teach in a school.
Though I just thought...
Am I the only one who sees how ridiculous that is?
You know, maybe... No, you're not the only one.
And the left is obviously supportive.
I just thought of, like, the Dream University, where, for the liberal left, you have this idiot who's teaching something that she should never be allowed to teach. You could have Francis Fox Piven come in and teach economics. Van Jones could be like the
political science
head. You could have Bill Ayers be the president of the university. I'm just saying, the groundwork is there. We could call it Communist U.
We already have that. It's called Columbia.
Oh, well, our work is done here, I guess.
Our work is done. Seriously, has anybody else picked up on this? I haven't seen it. I haven't seen a couple stories. I haven't seen anybody look at it that way.
You know, all joking aside, if I'm in charge of a university, now, if they wanted to talk to her, like, say a law school wanted to talk to her about her case, and they wanted to come in and have her, like, present and say, hey, you know what, it's like a one-day thing. This is what happened to me. This is what I did. Blah, 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 just to prove a point and use it for an actual educational tool. Not her teaching a class, but a professor using her as an educational tool.
Right.
Okay. I don't necessarily agree with it just because of what she's done, but okay. But to say to her that you're going to be an adjunct professor and you're going to teach the youth after you're a convicted murderer, that's going to be one of the most batshit crazy things that I've heard in a long time. And believe me, I've been reading a lot about North Korea lately, so that says a lot.
Well, hang on, because I have something better than that. The New York Times actually reported, and I don't have the date. I'm getting this from Breitbart.com. But apparently she was involved in a New York cell, obviously, of Weather Underground. Two of the leaders, she was one, Kathy Boudin and Caitlin Wilkerson. They were planning some bombings. They firebombed the home of a judge in a conspiracy trial of Black Panthers. But on March 2nd, again, I don't have a year, and this is according to this New York Times article. I'll try and see if I can find a year on this. One of the weathermen purchased 2 50-pound cases of dynamite in New Hampshire for a planned random bombing of buildings at Columbia University.
Wait a minute. So
this story just got better, right?
So in a way, she conspired to blow up the very school that she is now working at.
Yes.
I'm sorry. All I could pitch of it is just like a giant Bugs Bunny-like sign of irony landing on top of Columbia University and having people go, I don't get it.
Yeah. And again, I just...
and who signs up to take this class?
Well, that's the thing. According to the reports, there's only been a couple students who have questioned her being there. There, and only one student has walked away. That's the state of our education system.
Yeah, we'll just take whatever's shoved down our throat. It's fine.
Yeah, we have no idea. That's why we wear Mao Zedong purses and shirts and Che Guevara shirts.
But that was like when Sack and Michaela wrote the piece about University of California at Santa Cruz.
Yeah.
With the socialist movement meeting and all that inside. And that was a great article. It's up on our website somewhere, I think. It's sad what gets pushed into our colleges because, 18 to 22, you're still a young, pliable mind. You will know what gets put into your mind through education, and especially when you're teaching it. When you're learning it at a college that you're paying a ton of money to go through. It scares me to think that's what's out there, and this doesn't even highlight I'm not saying the murderers, but the amount of people that get to teach in our younger classrooms in public schools and get to put their own spin on it. It's frightening, man. I'll tell you, it's frightening. But bravo to Columbia for hiring a murderer.
But it's more evidence to where that Melissa gal I talked about earlier.
Yeah.
That whole mentality fits.
Yeah, absolutely it does. And it's sad. It really is sad. It's just more that we've let go, more that we put in.
And that's what's
Harris
sad.
Perry.
What's sad is people don't recognize or understand or are paying attention to what's happening to them. And our children are not being educated in schools from a young age that reflect our core values of our nation, our national heritage, our sense of liberty and natural rights, to be able to combat this crap that's getting thrown down their throats.
Jammed. It's not even thrown, it's jammed at this point.
A group of educated people, and by educated I don't mean they have a PhD from somewhere. By educated I mean people who have read the documents and understand Western culture, Judeo-Christian culture, and the ideals that our country was founded on. These other ideas would most likely they would not survive.
Yeah.
Because these other ideals are not based on virtue, they're not based on morality or anything like that. And for people to be able to self-govern, we have to be able to conduct ourselves and display that virtue publicly and privately, as well as acting and conducting ourselves in a moral way. All of our founders warned us of this, and this is what's happening, and we have gotten so far away.
Moral decay.
We've gotten so far away, and that's why our country is in the state it is. So if there's a way to bring that back, We have to keep this kind of trash out of our schools, but that's what's out there. That's what we're combating. And I know we focused a lot on education, gave some real specific arguments this time around for our education system and why our children are in trouble.
Well, and there's one more thing we didn't get to tonight about education. There's a 15-year-old girl. Go on YouTube. 15-year-old girl in Maryland. It says 15-year-old girl schools lawmakers about gun control.
She educated them.
You need to check it out. It's a great clip. And nobody knows who this girl is. Nobody has found a name or anything like that. So we need to find her. I'd love to have her on the show. Join us next Friday night, where we will be on at the same time, Sackheads Radio, at 10:30 Pacific. I think that's 1,500 hours Eastern. It doesn't matter. Either way, check us out at sackheadsradio.com, Facebook.com/Sackheads Radio. April 19th at 2:30 in the afternoon. If you're in the Sacramento area in California, join the Sons of Liberty as they do their No Liberty, No Peace ride for the Second Amendment and others. For more information on that, go to sonsofliberty.com. Thank you very much to Vanessa for the news. Thank you for Sacco, who, why do we thank him? I don't know, we did something with Sacco tonight. We appreciate him doing the sound. Thank you, my friend. I'll see you next week.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much for listening, folks, here on Sackheads Radio.